how to let our own soul's expression flow from us and how to allow blessings and positive manifestations to flow to us. Hey beautiful, welcome to Dr. Sarah's Café. This is your weekly refill where we take our time to savor the flavor of the week, which is a unique specialty blend of astrology, tarot, oracle cards, poetry, intuition, and creativity. This week, our flavor is Let It Flow. Let it flow. And if you're an R&B fan like me, there's already a song percolating in your mind as you hear this word, okay? So let's jump into the ingredients that make up this Let It Flow flavor for our week. Again, I'm going to switch it up a little bit and I'm going to start with the oracle and tarot, and then I'm going to end with the astrology. So if you're here for the astrology specifically, you can use the timestamp below to skip ahead. But starting with our oracle message, we have Gang Sarah and Resistance. I'm using the African Goddess Rising deck by Abiola Abrams, and resistance is when we hold ourselves back. Okay, so we think about the overall flavor, how this oracle message contributes to that unique flavor. Where are you creating more roadblocks in your life than there has to be? I'm going to read a little excerpt from the guidebook for this oracle deck, and it says, "You ghost your own dreams and resist your own magic. Stop holding back, worrying, and pretending to seek perfection that will never come." Every time I read these quotes, they just really hit home and really resonate and sink in. Okay, so where are you resisting your own magic? Where are you holding back out of fear of judgment, fear of failure, right? Where are you not wanting to really try because you don't want to be disappointed? These are all examples of resistance that we create in our lives that keep us from reaching our destinies, from achieving our higher potential, from our own healing even, okay? So thinking about resistance, sometimes, they say resistance is good, right? I like to work out, I like to exercise, and how do you build muscle? You use resistance, right? And so resistance has its place, it has its use in our everyday lives and as we seek to grow and evolve. But a lot of times we're creating unnecessary resistance, which is really the main point of this specific oracle card and the overall message for the week. Now, I want to go to the Pastry and Poetry. I know for my regular viewers, this is completely out of order from what I usually do. It's okay. The timestamps and the chapters are going to correspond to the order I'm doing in this video. But this Pastry and Poetry, there are two that I'm going to have in this video. So this is the first one. And it's a quote from Oprah, who's an Aquarius, born on January 29th. So actually the week that this video is coming out. And our pastry is pecan pie. No reason in particular, just because I felt like it. But this quote from Oprah, I think, speaks to this overall flavor of the week. And it's really potent, and I want to share it now so that you can keep it in mind as we continue to talk about the tarot and astrology ingredients as well. She says, "So the question is, what are you resisting? What are you pushing against? What are you not allowing? What are you blocking because you have this idea of who and what you're supposed to be instead of leaning into the dream?" Woo! I could be alone in the potency of these words, but if you're feeling it too, leave me a heart in the comments if that lands very strongly with you. So I want to unpack this a little bit, right? Because again, even for me in my social justice work elsewhere in the world, there comes a time when you do need to push back, right? There comes a time when you do need to resist, when you need to not agree in advance, all those things. But what we're talking about here, what we're talking about this week is not the resistance against fascism or, other forms of discrimination and degradation. We're talking about resisting your own growth, resisting your own magic, resisting your true, authentic dream because you're afraid of what people are going to think. You're afraid of the work and the effort it's going to take to actualize, to self-actualize. And she says, you have this idea of who and what you're supposed to be instead of leaning into the dream. And so there's a narrative, there's an identity, there's a job, there's a career, there's a type of house you're supposed to live in. There's a type of clothing that you're supposed to wear. There's a way you're supposed to wear your hair, makeup you're supposed to wear, who your partner is, what your partner looks like and what they do for a living, right? All of these preconceived ideas and notions of what it means to live a healthy, happy, fulfilled, successful life. And we can cling to that for various reasons and resist what our soul is really trying to get us to do. Our soul is longing for freedom of expression. Our soul is longing for, just to be able to express itself. Whether it be through art or teaching or math or science or mothering or cooking or dancing or being out in nature, right? What makes your soul feel free? What feels like the dream? And are you resisting that dream because you are trying to cling to a narrative or a prescribed way of being and doing that some external force told you is the only way to do life? And that resonates very deeply with me in looking at my history and my trajectory on many things. Now, the tarot ingredient, right in line, of course, is the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands, if you can see the image on the screen, it looks like resistance. It looks like fighting. It looks like sparring. It looks like people holding their stick in their hand and saying, I'm going to win. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to compete. I'm going to push. I'm going to shove. I'm going to pull. I'm going to pick and poke and prod. And so the Five of Wands, really, it can be external resistance where we have a dream and other people don't really like that dream for us because it doesn't align with their dream for us. Okay. In this moment, I want to slow down. I realize I hit on something as I'm saying this. Other people will try to dismiss, will try to convince us out of our own dream because it doesn't align with their dream for us. And as well-meaning as their dream for us might be, as deeply rooted in love as their dream for us might be, as deeply rooted in concern, in care, that their dream for us might be, listen to me, it does not take precedent over your dream for yourself. It does not take precedent over your soul's true, authentic calling. It does not take precedent over your creator's dream for your life. Okay? No matter how important or significant other people are in your life, the dream and the vision that they see for you can't take precedent over your soul's actual calling. The dream that your soul and your creator and the divine have for you in this lifetime. That's really where your responsibility and your commitment is. And so this week, there could be some external resistance from people who are well-meaning, people who love us, friends, family, our audience, our clients, our colleagues, our coworkers, our supervisors, our managers, whoever in our life who really does have good intentions for us. They might not understand the vision. They might not understand the dream that has come from your own inner soul. And they might try to warn you. They might try to convince you otherwise. They might try to keep you stuck in an old version of yourself that makes them more comfortable. So many things. But with the Five of Wands, it's not just external resistance. The Five of Wands in tarot can also represent that internal resistance that we saw in the Oracle card and that we saw in Oprah's poetry, right? And so the Five of Wands could be when we are engaging in a struggle that we don't have to engage in. And what's coming to me in this moment is even the compulsion to always explain and justify and try to make sure everyone else is on board with the dream can be a form of resistance, right? Where are the things what are the aspects of your life that you need to stand in authentically, regardless of whether other people understand it or understand you or understand where you're coming from? That's just one example of how, again, that internal resistance can play out. Now, I wasn't thinking about this initially when I pulled this card, but right now I feel called to share that the Five of Wands can also feel like butterflies in your stomach. Okay, so it can be sort of dynamic tension that excites you, that musters up the courage to move forward, to move ahead. And I'm even getting, pushing through the resistance. And it's kind of the saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. And so there might be resistance in your life, but that doesn't have to stop or halt your forward progress and your growth. Now, I mentioned that there were two pastries and poetries this week. The second one, of course, for the theme, for the flavor of Let It Flow, we got to bring in your girl, Toni Braxton, okay? One of the R&B princesses of the 90s. Toni Braxton, born October 7th, makes her a Libra. And so I'm keeping the pastry the same, pecan pie. But this Libra, Toni Braxton, one of my favorite R&B songs, if I'm being honest. I just love it so, so much. And I've loved it for years, okay? She says, there comes a time when we could all make a change, darling. Just let go. Let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow. Everything's gonna work out right, I love it. If you've never heard the song, I'm definitely going to link to it in the description box below. It has a slow, mellow groove. It's the kind of song you want to burn some incense to, put on some candles, maybe soak in a hot bubble bath, right? And just like release the tension. Release the tension. And this song is specifically, of course, about a relationship. It's about saying that, it's almost like that other song, I can't make you love me. Right? I can't make you love me if you don't. And so Toni is reminding us, relationships are a great example. Let it flow. If you're the only one fighting for the relationship, if the other person is not as invested or not as interested as you are, if you've had discussions and you've tried to create change in the relationship and the behavior hasn't changed, there comes a point when you must make a change. All right? And not just romantic relationships, that could be platonic, familial, career, professional. I'm also thinking about career a lot. The North Node is now in my 10th house of career. And sometimes you just have to move forward, okay? And I realized last year it felt like a big pivot year for me. And I was really thinking about the notion of pivoting and switching tracks or switching gears. And it occurred to me recently that what was happening was less of a pivot and more so an expansion. It's not so much that my career was really pivoting to something completely different, but what I was actually feeling and experiencing was a massive expansion, a massive upgrade of my career reach and potential and the scope of my legacy, really. And so talk about resistance. I felt a lot of it in 2024. 2024 was really hard emotionally and spiritually because, again, my soul was like, we have work to do. Okay, we have a role. We have a reason that we came to this planet. We have a reason that we incarnated in this particular body in this lifetime. And it's time to be about our soul's business. You know what I mean? It's time. and fear of judgment, fear of not knowing what the path would look like, fear of giving up on over a decade of building certain things, fear of what other people are going to think, so many things, right? Gave me that resistance. And now I'm like, girl, we gotta lean in, let it go, let it flow, let it flow. The astrology. There's a lot. And so I wanted to save it for the end this week, just in case you're short on time. You get the gist of the flavor of the week. If you don't want to get into the weeds of the planets and the aspects that they're making, then you pretty much know what the flavor is for the week. Now, for those of us who like to geek out about the planets and the stars, then let's dive in, okay? So we're going to start with Mercury. Mercury is doing several things this week. Starting out on the 27th, it makes a sextile to the North Node, which I love. And then on that same day, it moves into the sign of Aquarius. Great, because Mercury does pretty well with air sign energy. And Mercury then conjuncts Pluto a couple of days later, okay? Pluto and Aquarius. And so Mercury being the planet of communication, exchange, thinking, our thoughts, our ideas, numbers, math, transactions. It deals with money in that way too because of the transactional nature of it. It's very fast, but really the thinking, how our brain processes information and how we communicate information and ideas. And so with it being in a sextile to the North Node, there could be a lot of attention, a lot of communication, a lot of insights, a lot of understanding around our purpose, our destiny over the next 18 months with the North Node being in Pisces, right? We might come to some clarity or start conversations around where are we headed, right? What's the next phase or another level of our growth and evolution individually, but collectively as well. And then moving into Aquarius and then conjuncting Pluto, I'll link to my Pluto and Aquarius video in the description box below, but you know that this is going to speak to the next 20 years, right? So Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for 2 decades. And so Mercury, every planet really that conjuncts Pluto now is going to clue us in to how the story could be unfolding, right? We'll see several milestones over the next 2 decades. It's not going to all unfold overnight or at once. It's going to be a gradual progression. And so pay attention. Every time a planet conjuncts Pluto in Aquarius, just pay attention to what happens around that time because it's going to continue to unfold. That story is going to continue to unfold over the next couple of decades, okay? And so Mercury conjunct Pluto, again, Pluto being the underworld, the hidden things, also being about power. Okay, Pluto's also about power in a lot of ways. So Mercury could be conversations around the hidden things, conversations around deeper psychology, but also conversations around power. And again, not just conversations, but thoughts, new ideas, new clarity, new insights, new mental breakthroughs about what power means individually as well as collectively, okay? And then we have the new moon in Aquarius. I did a whole video just on the new moon in Aquarius, specifically how you can manifest with the new moon. So I'll link to that and won't go into too much detail here. And then the next day on January 30th, Uranus goes direct. And I think this is one of the aspects, one of the transits that speaks to the let it flow flavor, because Uranus loves freedom. Uranus loves to be out of the box. Uranus likes to be unhinged, okay? And so with it being retrograde, it's almost like its freedom and its breakthrough energy is more restricted, right? But now that it's going direct again, it's like a fresh breakthrough, right? A fresh opening. I think about Uranus as like breaking out of confinement, breaking out of restrictive patterns. And so this could be a transit that allows us to release the struggle a little bit, right? It's a theory, right? We'll see how it actually plays out, and it'll be different for every person, of course. You can also use your free will to say, well, Uranus is direct now, and so where could I use the extra support to break free in that area of my life, right? Like, here's the extra support from the planets that could help me overcome these obstacles or hurdles within myself, right? And for me, Uranus is in my 12th house, right? And so that could very well be like those subconscious sabotaging tendencies that we release and let go of. So for you, it'll depend on where Uranus is in your chart. But there could have been a period in your life where you felt kind of confined to a tradition or a program that was imposed on you, because Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. And so it does like the free thinking. It likes the free spirited, the free willed, the surprising, the unexpected, the authentic, right? All these things. And so Uranus moving direct, I definitely think could help a lot of us get into flow by helping us break out of certain forms of mental confinement in particular. Okay. And then that same day, the sun trines Jupiter. And I think the sun trine Jupiter is also very much a let it flow energy. It's a very, very lucky, very auspicious aspect in transit. Definitely a lucky day, right? This is one of the luckiest days of the year, the sun and Jupiter being in such an extremely harmonious aspect. This is really exciting because Jupiter wants to expand and it wants to give gifts. Jupiter wants us to be happy. The sun as well. The sun also, wants to bring vitality and life, literally. The sun is a life-giving force on our planet. It brings energy to our lives, to our planet. And so these two bodies, celestial bodies, like having a jolly good old time together and really hyping each other up, I think, again, can help us release the resistance, can help us get into greater flow. It can help things flow to us as well, right? And so what are we calling in? And a lot of times we struggle with manifesting because we resist the manifestation. It might sound counterintuitive, like, how am I resisting something that I say I want? The unconscious, the subconscious, right? So we might consciously think we want something, but if your subconscious doesn't think you deserve it, if your subconscious doesn't feel ready, if your subconscious is afraid of the change or the new, then it will present a resistance, a block to the thing that we are consciously saying that we want. Okay. So leverage the sun trine Jupiter energy on the 30th, and really it impacts a couple of days, right? To open up and allow the flow of blessings, the flow of good energy into your life, and don't resist it. Okay. And then February, we start a brand new month this week. So happy February. Welcome to February, everyone. If you're in the United States, this is our Black History Month. Okay. I know in the UK, you all have Black History Month in October. And if your current location doesn't have a Black History Month at all, then feel free to celebrate with us here in the United States. But on February 1st, we start off with very, very lovely energy. Y'all, more free-flowing energy. Venus, another benefic planet, the planet of love and beauty and grace and feminine receptiveness, okay, is conjunct Neptune, a planet of dreams and fantasies and watery emotions. I mean, it can run away with itself, right? Like, I'm not gonna completely sugarcoat it. Like, this can become almost like too much, like overindulgence, like getting drowned in the fantasy a little bit. So you do want to have some safeguards in place. But at the same time, it's conjunct the North Node. And so the North Node could potentially give this Venusian beauty, grace, luxury, receptive energy purpose, right? It could bring a sense of direction and a sense of growth to this energy if we leverage it for those purposes. Again, free will. Some people will take this energy and just, eat all the chocolate that they care to eat. And then there's a lot of chocolate going around because we're also a couple of weeks out from Valentine's Day. So if you go into any retail store, loads of chocolate available. But what I feel called to say, to really emphasize with this Venus energy, this Venusian energy being conjunct Neptune and conjunct the North Node, is that this could increase our capacity for receptiveness. This could increase our capacity to get in flow, to get into a flow. Okay, especially with that Neptune Pisces energy, Venus being in Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces, meaning she's feeling her best. She's really, really in her bag in Pisces, okay? And so I think this is just going to make it easier for us if we want to release the resistance, if we want to relax into it, if we want to figure out and learn and practice how to let it flow, how to let our own soul's expression flow from us, and how to allow blessings and positive manifestations to flow to us. And that's the thing about letting it flow. It's not just letting things flow from us, it's also letting things flow to us. Okay, and that's really what I see with the astrology here, is helping us be open and receptive to the positive things that want to flow to us. So let it flow. If you're closed off about what flows from you, you are simultaneously closing off things that want to flow to you. Okay, so let it flow. And our takeaway: how have I been resisting my own power and brilliance? How can I just let it flow? How have I been resisting my own power and brilliance? And how can I just let it flow? My dears, be sure to watch the New Moon in Aquarius video, which I'll link to right here in the middle of the screen. I hope that this has in some way helped you to refill your spiritual cup, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.